Since Abigail and I had a modest home here in Buffalo, and since I didn't expect to be in Washington City for more than 4 years, I took a suite at the Willard Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. For a while there, I had to live alone. I hated it. Being away from Abigail for me was very, very difficult. She was my sweet and cherished wife who was my great love and my cherished mentor. But she needed to resolve some family issues back then, so I endured without her. After some time, she and my daughter Mary did visit with me that spring, as did my son Powers, who was a Harvard law student and later would become my secretary.
Oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me, for I come from Alabama with the banjo on my knee.
That song, I hear it everywhere.
It's the newest song from Stephen Foster. We have all of his music.
Well, who is this Foster fellow?
Oh, well, his name is Stephen Collins Foster. He's 24 years old and already has 12 songs in print, including Oh, Susannah, which is incredibly successful. And he is planning to go to Pittsburgh to marry a 20-year-old named Jane Denny McDowell.
How does she know all these things?
That's because the only thing your daughter ever reads is the gossip in that awful penny paper. I can't get her interested in books.
Oh, it's not a penny paper. It's the New York Sun. It costs 2 pennies, which is a shameless waste of money.
Still, I wish she'd read books and learn something valuable.
Well, you know how children are.
At 17, she is no longer a child. She is a young woman. Why, at her age, Joan of Arc had already commanded an army.
Ooh, I would love to command an army.
Perhaps you should send her to West Point.
Or boarding school.
Yeah, nonsense. She's just a typical young girl rebelling against the former school teacher and librarian mother.
I am not typical and I am not rebelling. I am simply stating what I read. Can I help it if I prefer current events to silly made-up stories? For instance, did you know that Stephen Foster writes songs about slavery and he has never even been to the South?
Not even to Alabama with a banjo on his knee?
My point exactly. He probably learned everything he knows from books. Anyway, I like his music. Although like slavery itself, it is awfully sad. Oh, but when I get to New Orleans, I look all round and round, and when I find Susannah, I'll go right on the ground.
And if I do not find her, this darky will surely die. And when I'm dead and buried, Susannah, don't you cry.
Very nice, Powers. Although I do not approve of the word darky.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mother, but that was the lyric.
Millie, you shouldn't be walking around like that. You are Vice President of the United States. It just isn't proper. My son should see you.
Well, nobody will see me but you and the children.
They are no longer children. Besides, how can you be so careless in your dress when you're usually such a clothes horse?
I am not a clothes horse. I am sartorial. Besides, I have to dress up to my office.
Oh, why? President Taylor doesn't. He's the most unkempt man I've ever met. Does he even brush his hair?
Why do you suppose they call him Old Rough and Ready?
A ridiculous appellation. No, don't you think that the President of the United States should be more, well, presidential?
I admire President Taylor. He's a good man, a war hero, an admired leader. Who cares if he's handsomely garbed, suitably barbered, or less colorful in his language? After all, Father, despite the fact that you are considered the best-dressed man in Washington City, you always taught us we can't judge on outward appearances. It's what's inside that counts, not the finery or flounce. It's what a man believes, what he loves. And not his boots, not his gloves, but what's down deep inside, the courage and the pride. That's what makes him tall, what's inside. That's all that matters. His clothes could be in tatters. If you weigh a man by what he wears, it'll never add up to a single ounce. Because it's what's inside that counts. Yes,